Welcome to Season 2, Episode 31 of Comic Book Nation, the official podcast of Comicbook.com. I am your host, Kofi Outlaw, and with me today, we got the usual, we have like the almost exact, you've seen everybody here like recently. These introductions are getting crazy. It's Janelle Wheeler.
Hey, everybody.
Matt Aguilar.
Yo.
And you just saw him. He's back again. Wrestling expert, Mr. Connor Casey's back with us to handle some unfinished business.
They can't kick me off this thing if they tried.
We tried. The WWE's gotten rooted in here, so we almost have to have you here. So, there's a certain amount of truth to that, but we like having you here too. So we're going to be talking to Connor and Matt about WWE again. Yes, that's my introduction.
You broke Matt already.
I just think it's so funny. Okay, love it.
You having your own show over there? We all know you.
All right. This thing is
so
so
funny. By now, if you haven't seen our quarantine arc of our show, like by now, Matt's sitting over there. And if we could see his computer screen, it would just say "all work and no play makes Matt a dull boy." Like over.
Did you know? That is exactly what it says.
Because, you've been increasingly freaking out about different comic book characters and whatnot over the past weeks. You look like you're ready to explode right now.
Oh, yeah, yes. That reminds me of something, but yes, continue.
I know you're already wound up. We haven't even, started the subject matter yet.
We have
the introductions.
I'm amped, man.
We're in the intros. Oh, boy. Here we go. So let's see where this is all going to go wrong. Here's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about Star Wars. No chance for any volatility there. Some big things happening on the Mandalorian front. We're going to talk about DC Universe still chugging along. Chris Nolan is going to try to hold down July as the time we get back to movies. Matt's got some more gaming expert stuff to flex on with the return of Tony Hawk, bro. He's back. My high school years have just come full circle from the 90s. And we got just a little bit of TV to catch up on. Plus, we got a lot of WWE to talk about. Money in the Bank has come and gone, and there's been other headlines to get to as well in the midst of all that. So we got to do that. And this week, y'all, the return of Matt. New comics, we're coming back.
Booyah!
We're seeing a light at the end of the tunnel here, so we're
almost there.
That. Yeah, no wonder you're so hyped. Oh, that's nice, man. I'm glad you have new comics, buddy. All right, so let's go from the top. We're going to be talking about Star Wars. So big things are happening in the Star Wars universe, but they're all happening on the small screen right now. Yes, we know Taika Waititi's making a new movie, but that's the future. Right now, what we got for Star Wars content is the Clone Wars has ended. And the next thing on the docket is we're all looking forward to the return of The Mandalorian this fall on Disney+. So we all have, good excuses to log back into Disney+ and start doing that whole nine again. So, it's just been crazy. I feel like Disney's just flexing to try to get some of that money back early that they've been losing by just kind of hyping, what The Mandalorian's going to be all about in Season 2. Because there's just been, a string of hits right now. They just keep dropping. They're like, oh, you not excited about Mandalorian Season 2? Guess what we got? So here's what we got. Just before we came in here, we found out that Katie Sackhoff is going to be joining Battlestar Galactica fame and so many other things. Is going to be joining The Mandalorian Season 2 as her Star Wars animated character, Bo-Katan Kryze. And that is crazy. We're sorry to Ashley Eckstein, who we loved and who's been playing Ahsoka Tano since the beginning. But, Katie Sackhoff, she already had obviously was a screen actress before this. So she's going to be joining as Bo-Katan. But that's not it, man. We're also getting Boba Fett coming to The Mandalorian, which is the whole discussion we got to have here in ourselves. Connor, is this what you feel passionate about?
Yeah, because I saw a lot of backlash to this with people saying that it's just fan service. And in some respects it is, most things in Star Wars are these days. But I think there's actually a really good story you can tell with having Boba Fett back in the fold. Because this guy, if you look at any sort of extended universe stuff, his reputation is he is the absolute worst guy you ever want hunting you. So the idea of someone trying to sick Fett onto Mando to try and get his hands on Baby Yoda, that sounds interesting. You could make a whole season out of that.
Oh, yeah.
So people,
Yeah, I actually wrote our kind of feature article on Comicbook.com Star Wars, breaking down what does this mean for the franchise to actually bring Boba Fett back, because I think that's what people are objecting to. It's just all the other things in this kind of shifting set of dominoes that is the Skywalker saga that have to happen now. Because as we know, if you don't know your Star Wars, Boba Fett seemingly died in the opening first act of Return of the Jedi when Luke Skywalker stages his epic rescue of Han Solo from Jabba the Hutt's palace. And while they have a fight over the Sarlacc pit where Luke was supposed to be executed, they have this huge fight, and Boba Fett ends up getting jetted into the Sarlacc pit and gets eaten by the Sarlacc.
Which was like one of the coolest moments. I mean, that was such a cool thing. Yeah.
Because when we were kids, like that sight of a guy in the jetpack like taking off, like that was crazy epic.
Gosh.
It didn't bode well. It was a very cautionary tale because he ended up in a Sarlacc pit, but it was cool for that minute. But so there's always long been this whole thing because of theories and wish lists of Boba Fett being revealed, of coming out of Sarlacc pit. But I wrote an article about how this would affect the kind of original trilogy and other things around it. And basically, weirdly enough, there is enough here to bring Boba Fett back, because if you watched Clone Wars kind of dealt a lot. One of the arcs throughout the show and one of the seasons is about young Boba Fett after Attack of the Clones and Jango Fett's dead and he's left in a universe by himself. And how he learns to be a bounty hunter, and he forms a whole crew of crazy bounty hunters from like all the ones you saw in Empire Strikes Back were like from his old crew, and he's actually like a master schemer and smuggler / bounty hunter and stuff like that, and how he kind of becomes Boba Fett, you know what I mean? So there was all that. Plus we've seen on the Mandalorian that like that Beskar steel, those things could take a beating from all kinds of animals. So I mean, at this point, it wouldn't be crazy if Boba Fett, he's crafty enough, he's badass enough to have gotten out of some live animal's stomach and crawled away later.
Do you think they'll like explain that, or?
I mean, you definitely kind of have to like
maybe like flashbacks.
Yeah, you got to give if you're gonna do the fan service thing, like you have to do a fan service flashback.
Okay,
but as Kofi points out in that article, which is great by the way, there's so much that they kind of need to explain. Like there's so much of that that it's like, well, I hope the story's good, because you need it. Like if you were going to undergo all this, like it's going to be a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot because of the canon now. You need to explain how a young Jango Fett was able to run around in the universe after that during the fall of the Empire and not be spotted for both looking like a younger clone soldier that anybody would see, or if he was wearing Mandalorian armor after the purge of Mandalore during like the original trilogy, like anybody would know that's Boba freaking Fett.
Yeah.
The sequel trilogy has a bunch of loose threads that you can pull from. Mostly there's a story like I did about this guy Dangar, or Rothgar Dang, who shows up in Rise of Skywalker, who kind of people connected the dots is actually Dangar, who is this famous bounty hunter from Empire Strikes Back, and he's also in Clone Wars and one of Boba Fett's original friends. And he's a crazy cyborg in Rise of Skywalker because he's just been trying to survive. His backstory in the book is that he's been a bounty hunter who's been operating forever and wants to live forever and just became more and more of a crazy machine. And so it's all part in Dangar's story in the sequel trilogy. Basically, there is a whole story for him and some of Boba Fett's old friends who actually fought in the Battle of Jakku, and helped cause all that wreckage and stuff that Rey was raised around. And that because they did that, they were pardoned for serving the Empire and helping Vader and doing all that, and they all got to live in the sequel trilogy era, pardoned by the New Republic. So this is all possible because I'm pretty sure the Mandalorian takes place. I don't know if the Battle of Jakku has happened. I'm not really clear on that.
We're 8 years after the fall of the second Death Star, right?
Yeah.
Is that it? Yeah.
Yeah. So
I think it's around that time.
Yeah. So I think it's or just leading up to that. Let me just do a quick little look on the interwebs so there is possible you can flex some story muscles to say Boba Fett did kind of live on and was in this era kind of still running around under an assumed identity or name, but like Matt said, the Battle of Jakku has already happened. It's 5 years after.
Okay.
No 5 years after the Battle of Yavin. Okay, so No. Oh God, I can't even think.
You're making my brain hurt just watching you right
So many
now.
battles.
Timelines.
So
How
many
about I
battles.
just say that, like, I'm very much, I'm a big fan of character development episodes, like one-off episodes. The Walking Dead is one of my favorite shows, and it's kind of like notorious for having these little like episodes that they sneak in where they just follow one character and how they got to where they were. I
Right.
love that. And I think this character is such a powerful character that no one would complain about that.
Okay,
I
so
would love it.
All right, so just so the Star Wars fan don't kill me. Okay, so the Battle of Jakku was 1 year after the Battle of Endor, which was the Return of the Jedi. Okay, so that happened 1 year later. So this is significantly after that. So yes, Boba Fett could have very well been pardoned, escaped, been pardoned, and been living a whole other freaking life by now.
Wow.
So I mean, it's all possible.
I want to know it all.
Do you though?
I do. I love it when we actually get character development. I feel like that's not something that we get a lot of in the
Yeah.
Mandalorian, like in general. So I would love a deep dive, like with with this character.
Well, look at what Clone Wars and Rebels did for Darth Maul, and how developed that character became. So many years after the fact of people just seeing him in Phantom Menace, going, "Hey, that guy looks cool." You can do the exact same thing here with Fett.
And that's the thing. I think Dave Filoni is getting a greater influence over the Mandalorian after proving he could do live action, and he's the kind of mastermind behind the Star Wars animated stuff. And so he is the one who's been building these storylines. And so like he did the Clone Wars arc about Boba Fett, and it's a really good arc that I actually invite people to see. And maybe I will do a feature on it so people can just know which ones they have to watch. But it proves like Boba Fett is a little Jango Fett, like is a little Jango Fett. I mean, he's a little badass. He's smart, and like he knows the criminal underworld from when he was a kid and forced to survive on his own. So they've already started that character work. So having Tamara Morrison, the guy who played Jango Fett in the movies, is coming back to play Boba Fett, which is really cool. I mean, that's just cool in and of itself because he never. I mean, in the movies, of course, in Attack of the Clones, he was Jango Fett, the original inspiration for the clones, and he had a little natural aging son who was Boba, and that was played by a little boy, of course. And so like the one we saw in the prequel series was a boy, and then we only ever saw him in his helmet during the original trilogy. So this is the first time we'll see Boba Fett out of his helmet, and we'll get to see Tamara Morrison like back in the role and playing that again, and that's going to be cool.
That's really cool
because he's a badass.
Moment,
so
yeah,
like, that's going to be a really cool thing to see. So. And since they've already done the character work in Clone Wars, there's actually a basis for him to, who Boba Fett is out of the helmet. And so I'm glad more people will get to see that. But please just don't waste it as fan service. Let's get a good story out of this because there is potential because Boba Fett, there's a weird link because Boba Fett and the Mandalorian are both not real Mandalorians. They're both kind of guys who are like wearing that culture literally and figuratively, but they're not real actual Mandalorians. So it'd be kind of cool to see them go up against each other.
That'd be awesome.
Oh, all right. So, so that's it for the Mandalorian. And it seems like the Mandalorian has not been delayed. It looks like as of now, Disney is confirming that we're going to get it in fall. So yay for that. Maybe that'll be a good light at the end of the tunnel. So that's enough about that. Moving right along from Star Wars, we're going to hop on over to DC. And there was a kind of business article about HBO Max, which is launching imminently. So we're going to be doing probably a lot more HBO Max type talk in the coming weeks. And everybody, naturally, if you're a fan of this show and Comicbook.com, one of the big questions we've had about HBO Max is what the hell happens to DC Universe when this thing? They're both Time Warner. Obviously, Time Warner, AT&T, they want their kind of Warner Brothers brand to be kind of intermingled with the DC brand. So HBO Max is already getting these very high-profile DC projects, Green Lantern, Justice League Dark. They got like J.J. Abrams signed to them to possibly kind of handle a bunch of this stuff. So they're making this big move on HBO Max. And so therefore, what happens to this DC universe, which is now, I mean, it's been looking like the Amazing Spider-Man of DC, franchises for about the past year now. Like it's just that middle child between like the old school Arrowverse and like the big budget, like let's put all the money into it, crazy Marvel Cinematic Disney Plus stuff that's coming next. So apparently this business report had sources in both kind of DC Universe and Warner Brothers saying that the plan right now, and this is just what these quote unquote insiders are saying, is they want to keep DC Universe going for at least another year or two. And so they're planning kind of what kind of content. The key is like, what kind of content can they make that's good for that? And the plan right now is to just go with just small but quality projects that are kind of have that fan approval and will get that fan attention without breaking the budget. So they want to keep it going, but they don't want to spend too much on it. They want to do it for the kind of like the core fan base with kind of the IPs they know will work. So Titans is a flagship for DC Universe because Titans is underestimated here because it doesn't necessarily build as much of a buzz in America because it's only on DC Universe. But that puppy is on Netflix overseas, and a lot more people have eyeballs on it because it's on like streaming platforms where people actually see it, and it actually has a good buzz around it. Same with Doom Patrol, which has like the critical acclaim and the kind of cult hit buzz behind it. Harley Quinn's an actual, like, you know, probably one of, if not their biggest success, and, you know, easy enough to produce and doesn't cost an arm and a leg to kind of get out there. And so they have things they can work with and ideas they can work with. And now we're hearing that one of the things they're considering are Titans spinoffs. And yeah,
it better be Hawk and Dove.
I mean, Hawk and Dove, and that's what we're going to talk about. So, like, I was trying to imagine, like, if you're talking about, like, spin-off of Titans, there's any number of things you can do. Like, what would you want to even see on that front?
I mean, aside from Hawk and Dove, 'cause I think that lends itself so well to those two characters are the two of the best parts of Titans anyway.
Yeah.
Anytime
Minka
they're on
Kelly,
screen,
Minka Kelly's Dove is great.
Yeah, and Richardson's Hawk is great too. Like, they really do a great job, and you can still, because of their past with Dick Grayson, you can work him in to guest star on their thing. Like, the crossover is easy, and they have their own lore and stuff that's not really explored, honestly, even in the books half the time. So it's kind of a blank slate, and you can do a lot with them. I think also, you know, Donna Troy makes a lot of sense. If you really want to, again, that's one of those like very touchy things of like, how much are they allowed to dip into the Wonder Woman pool stuff that relates to that.
You're touching on my answer, because I wrote the piece about this, and I was kind of saying, you know, because of Titans and the nature of it, there's already so many shades of so many universes in this.
Yeah.
There's Aquaman, Wonder Woman, the whole Batman universe is already kind of wrapped up in this in a big way. And so there's a lot you can spin off into. The question is, what fills those parameters of something that would gain fan acclaim and attention and kind of be within the budgetary realities of what you can do.
Yeah.
And I came to the answer that I would want to see finally see a true like Vic Sage question series, because
that'd be awesome.
Because here's why. The question would be, it's just like a procedural or noir investigative procedural thing with a very unique character who has no face. So that's like really the only thing you have to do. And Gotham is established in here, and has that kind of noir shade to it in Titans. That universe is darker, it's grittier, it's very adult, so you could actually do like a real kind of murder mystery investigation type deal with the question and make it fun. And there's already a Batman universe. It's probably the most fleshed out thing, like I said, so you can just tie it to that. You could play with the Renee Montoya whole thing and do that. Like, there's a lot you could play with there, and it wouldn't break the bank at all. So that's what I personally would want to see.
I love that idea. I think that with this format, it's weird. I have questions about why it's not just being folded into HBO Max.
Have questions,
right? Like that's a big one out there. That is like, what is the detriment? Like, what is the thing that is like, no, instead of shutting this down and just folding it into being a wing of HBO Max, why are we continuing to kind of keep its own monthly model and all this other stuff?
And be like humble with its spending and
ego,
like,
Matt. You know.
Well, but like it's just taking it as what it is. Like, taking that aside, I don't know what the thinking is, but okay, they're making the decision to stick with this. Their approach to it is pretty spot on for me, because you're keeping your core fan base that is subscribing to DC Universe is a very like hardcore. We know these characters for the most part. We know a lot of the legacy stuff. Even if we don't know like every inker and stuff that ever worked on the book, we still know the overall thing of a character. So going with these smaller characters, I mean, even Swamp Thing was pretty critically liked, even though
Swamp Thing was good, man.
Yeah,
like,
right. So
I haven't hated anything that this service has turned out.
Yeah, Stargirl going with like, and the way they're approaching it with, you know, characters that, yes, these are B, C list characters. Like Doom Patrol is a beloved character set, but again, it's like a B or C list character. So,
but it's so good.
Yeah, right. So, question, perfect sense. If you're going to spin out Titans, Hawk and Dove makes a lot of sense, because again, they're not typically characters that can hold their own series, but spinning them out of Titans and having a little bit of a proven brand behind you, you know, honestly, like it fits. It's a good idea if you're going to keep DC Universe around, going with these kind of smaller tier characters that comic nerds will get excited about and watch, and then try and build off of that critical praise or whatever and get it to streaming networks or CW networks that have more mainstream appeal, is the best, I think, approach they could go with, if they're not going to fold it in, which again, I don't understand why, but somewhere there's some dollar and cents that makes sense for them not to do it. So
I see what you did there. You're like a Latin Jay-Z. Very nice. Oh man, yeah. I mean, I don't know. At this point, it'd be like the times when movie theaters shut down on you and they just meet you outside with tickets and they're like, sorry, and they hand you one, they're like, come back again. Like that's what they should be doing, to send email everybody who has DC Universe subscription, get those 15 emails, send them each a subscription for a year of HBO Max, and be like, catch you on the flip side. Sorry about the stumble. Come over to the real
but
party.
Like, just make it yeah, I agree. Like, give them a deal for HBO Max, but you can keep all the branding. I mean, you keep DC Universe just part of HBO.
Just take all that digital code and throw it right on HBO Max.
I mean, yeah, that's
like
the
Disney.
thing.
Copy Disney Plus. You see how that menu works? It's like Star Wars. It's like
so
Marvel.
many new viewers.
Yeah,
like
DC corner. Maybe that's the only corner of HBO Max you go to, and then just as soon as you click into it, you're back to DC Universe.
Yeah. That's the part I don't understand, but it's not their content. Their content's actually really good. I enjoy a lot of their stuff.
I would love to see it.
Do you think maybe it has something to do with, like, maybe it's going to get lost in the shuffle on HBO Max when it's going up against things like HBO properties and other Warner Brothers stuff?
I mean, I think it has. I think you're kind of edging to something that could be a reality, which is this whole AT&T thing has been like, there's always been these quiet screams since AT&T got involved about like what's happening to DC and like Warner Media and like what do they want and do they even see DC? I mean, Matt had a good breakdown about why DC is just an IP machine in the eyes of a major conglomerate like AT&T. And so it's like, I mean, the question is, how much confidence do you have in this brand? Like, what are you putting? You could put it out front as one of the flagship components of your service, yes. But do they have that brand security? Like, what is it? Like, you know, are they going to wait and see how are they going to marvel it and just basically like wait and see how the first batch of DC TV shows does on, HBO Max? You guys just saw that my foot itched and I tried to scratch it. Now the whole world knows. I've broken the law. But anyway, if you're not watching this on video, then disregard that whole thing. But you don't know like how they're viewing the DC brand. So I think they're going to wait and see. And I think if that could be like literally the year or two is just giving HBO Max time to roll out. And if HBO Max is killing it and DC Universe is just chilling it, like, you know, coming soon to HBO Max when we need that next wave of subscription.
I was going to say, right? Yeah. Like we always get on, you know, for a minute there, we were getting on, you know, well, we're still getting on Disney Plus for it, but also even like Netflix had a lull there where there's not a ton of content coming out right then.
Right.
And when that happens, if they see a long stretch, I mean, I feel like it's only a matter of time before they go, nah, it's a good time. Let's bring all that. Here's 7 shows with 2 seasons each that you can now watch.
I would love that personally.
And
I'm an
Green
HBO
Lantern
person.
And, you know, Justice League Dark start to kill it, then people will start talking. And then like, then it's like, okay, how do we rapidly expand this universe? Here's a bunch of stuff we know you didn't watch that we already.
You're right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Very much so.
If you haven't seen it, it's new to you. Here you go. Boom.
Yeah, it's all about like building a bigger fan base, and it would just be really nice to get DC like new fans. Like I think that if they expanded into HBO, they'd get a bunch of people that are jumping on the DC bandwagon and they're not just stuck on Marvel.
Especially with Harley Quinn. I think
Yeah.
Harley Quinn's so good.
Like it's that's money when it comes to like if you were to just put that first season on HBO Max, I think that would kill.
Yeah.
It's such
You're
it's
talking
so
about
made
Titans
for that
makes
audience.
That's
me
just
wanna watch it
waiting
so
for
bad.
That's just waiting for a larger audience, and so is Titans.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so is
I want to
Titans.
see Titans
kind of
so bad.
I think it's nuts that they didn't put Titans there like out in front just as this is a TV show offering. Like like so many people haven't seen it. Like why not?
I haven't seen it. I wish
Yeah.
I have. Like it
So-
it sounds awesome. It looks really cool. I'm like Googling the artwork. It's so cool. I'm like kind of jealous of anyone who has gotten to see it because I guess so you said it's on Netflix and
I
other
don't
countries.
usually brag, but when I used to go to bars, that's what I used to say is, hey, I've seen Titans. No.
That was your selling point. Solid.
Yeah.
And give you my login.
Oh man. I can tell you though, Connor, it ended with a lot of nights of me getting to enjoy some Titans reruns. But yeah. All right, moving right along from My Strange Life. Yeah, heard a lot of that too. Here we go. Moving right along to the movies. So we're all been locked out of movie theaters for quite some time, and pull it together. Be professional. My gosh, this team. I swear sometimes. So. But we've all been locked out of movie theaters for quite some time, and we've been all wondering when we're going to get back in. And a lot of movies have just pulled up stakes and jumped ship to 2021. But I mean, Chris Nolan has kind of dreams. He wants to be the guy who puts up the beachhead for summer movies and releases his new movie Tenet in July. And seems like he's still holding on to that. I didn't have a whole lot to get into on that front, but it was planned for July 17th. You think we guys will make that? You think would that be the big first global movie to come back?
I think it will be solid because I think what'll happen is like we've seen already where places are opening up, whether it's too soon or not. I feel like there's a whole other discussion that we don't need to have right now. But
I think that is the discussion.
I think people will open. And I think some theaters will open, even though it's not a good idea to me at that point. But they will. So I feel like the movie someone has to make the first jump, right? It's either going to be the movie, like all the theaters are like, well, we're not opening up until big movies are in. And the big movies are like, well, you need to open up so we can feel like
I wonder if they'll like stagger, like have like blocked off seats so that you have to keep the distance.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
things
something
like that.
Something like only every other seat can be sold.
Well, since it's been digital, I mean, like most of the theaters in Nashville now are like digital, right? Like,
you pre-buy and you select your seat online.
That could be the way to go. And then just put a Skull and Crossbones on the old school theaters, like I don't have that, and just let people take their chances. But the question, I mean, I don't think the question is, are movie theaters going to go for it? I think they have to just to function, just to stay alive. I think the question is, what is going to be the movie that people stop worrying about risking their lives and they're like, nah, I'm going to see that ish. Like, yeah, like in
not Tenet.
I mean, Tenet could. I mean, but Tenet could be it. I mean, a Christopher Nolan movie will pull people out. Like, there's a whole.
I just don't think it's going to happen that
fan
soon.
base. Yeah, but that's the question: is like, is this the movie, and is this enough time?
I think because Tenet to me looks more like Inception than it does Interstellar. So I think if it's that kind of movie where everybody comes out talking about it, of the initial wave of people that are like, you know what, screw it, I'm going to the movie theater. They go and they give it these rave reviews. More ordinary people are going to follow suit. They're going to go, you know what, I hear this movie's great. I need to get the heck out of this house. They've put up some precautions for the movie theater. Let's go. If it's good enough, I think it could serve that purpose.
Because this is one of the types of movies you want to see in the theater.
Right. Yeah, and that's kind of
it's not a take-home movie.
And it's not just a question of the U.S. This is this is definitely a global-sized movie. And Nolan has a global-sized audience.
He does.
And so, like, it's all about what's going to happen in China.
I just don't think this is the movie.
In the UK. So
I think you should bump it back to August, but
I mean, I think he should get it on like everybody's kind of backing up to Christmas now, like around that time, and I think he should just go for like November, go for that
Mhm.
Thanksgiving, like.
There's
Yeah,
so much in
I
November already that's already been bumped back to that. Like,
Right.
you're almost
I
gonna run
mean,
out of room.
Competition.
but
I mean,
you'll
early
make,
November.
But you'll make that, to me, this is not a movie that is a tentpole blockbuster movie to the point that it would get people to shrug off any paranoia to go to a theater. This is not that movie to me.
Well,
Like,
let's
Not
just
that
be fair.
early.
We haven't seen that yet. All we've gotten, because Nolan always has these 3-stage trailer release plans, and we only got through stage 1
true
before all of this happened, which was
but
the basic
even
introduction of his hard pounding music and whatever
Agreed.
freaky concept he's showing us, and that's
But
what we've
like-
seen so far.
But if we look back at his previous releases, like if this was Interstellar, I don't think this does it either. Like just from I don't think a movie of this ilk
Mhm.
is a movie that's going to do it.
I
Honestly,
agree.
I think it's going to be one of those ridiculous popcorn blockbuster films that is going to be like, if Fast and Furious had kept its date or whatever, I would say Fast and Furious would be the kind of movie to draw people to go like, screw it, I just want to see this. It's been whatever. I don't think a movie like this, that is this kind of cool tech thriller-ish mystery thing, I don't think that's going to be enough to get your average movie fan who isn't just like hardcore, I want to go see it because it's a Nolan movie. I don't think it's going to get them to go. Like,
so Matt, if John Cena pulls a Matt Damon and is the surprise cameo in Tenet, are you going?
No. Love you, Cena, but no, hell no. I'm not going to a theater unless, like, it's got to be something. Like, I don't even know I can't think of the movie right now that would make me want to go to a theater right now. Like, that is where I'm at. So looking at that, like, if it were, let's say Wonder Woman, I don't know. I'd have to think about it. Like, that's
Captain
where I'm at
Marvel
personally.
2.
Captain Marvel 2 would be the one. That would be the one.
I knew it.
Yes, it would. That would be the one. But I'm saying, like, this type of movie, I just don't see as being the thing that will draw everybody, because there are a lot of people very paranoid. So I feel like it has to be some ridiculous.
I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to predict what future me. By July, I might be willing to strap on a mask and take a chance of something like this.
And I'm not saying
there
there
with
won't
you.
be. Like, there will be people. Absolutely.
I'm going to be in a theater. I mean, I'm going to be in there with my gloves and my mask on. Don't get it twisted.
But when you said block, like that level of like deliver a blockbuster, I don't think there's going to be enough people.
And let's say, like, I think we all need to be in there with our gloves and masks on. Like, movie masks should be mandatory.
Yes.
It even has 3 M's in it. Movie masks mandatory. Boom.
Yes. Absolutely.
I mean, not even because of coronavirus, just because I'm tired of you other disgusting animals. Like,
that's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair.
I just want it.
And the gloves need to be for the Cheetos.
And I'm doing it too. So I'm keeping my disgust under wraps. Like, we should all do it.
I miss Cheetos.
Yeah, I was getting a little sketchy in those places anyway. So,
Mhm.
so we'll see what happens with Tenet. That's coming in. We've heard it's not a time travel movie, which is blowing my mind. Robert Pattinson kind of let the cat out of the bed and said it's not about time travel. And if you haven't seen the trailer, it's about John David Washington and Robert Pattinson and other people are playing these kind of agent kind of hit guys. I don't know what exactly they are, but the whole gimmick is like they go through these sequences of like a battle that's been fought, like with everybody kind of shot out and dead. And then time kind of reverses and everybody goes up, and then it's like the start of the battle when they're walking into the room. And so it's led to kind of other theories about if this isn't time travel, like what is this? One theory is about that I thought was interesting is that it'll be like some kind of weird, almost like what is that, Edge of Tomorrow type deal? Like,
ooh, yeah, relive the event over and over. That could be fun.
Like relive like your last either like sequence of your life or something, like when you died, you get to relive it and do it again.
World War III or something like that.
Yeah, they're trying to stop it.
Yeah, when you explain why you come back in, and then like that's how they prevent the disaster. After seeing the disaster happen, you get like a second chance to like undo it. And
That's interesting.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm very interested in this.
It would explain a lot of what you see in the first trailer, like how the car like flips and then like unflips because like it'd be like you did an action movie wrong and then you get a chance to do it again, and like get it right the second time. Like, yeah, that'd be kind of cool.
Really cool.
Yeah. if somebody doesn't say Dormammu, I came to bargain in that movie, I'll be really upset. All right, so we'll see what's happening with Tenet. You know, I mean, I just want to see what happens if they drop that second trailer. That's what I'm going to be most interested to see. Now, Matt, you get to kind of flex your game expertise and tell us, come on, bro, tell us about what's happening on the gaming front.
It's funny. Speaking of letting the cat out of the bag early, Tony Hawk let out a big announcement that was coming as part of Jeff Keighley's streaming event. And it was literally like 2 minutes away. And then Tony Hawk just blasted it on Twitter. It's like, oh, okay. Guess
so messed up.
Yeah, I was like, I think I saw a Rollin tweet of like the PR people like, oh, and he just tweeted it out there.
Was it on purpose? Like, was he?
I mean, I think he just
it wasn't middle finger, like
it was just, hey, I want to put it out there.
Understand social media promotion.
But like literally, I'm on the video page of the timer. Like there's a whole live timing site. I was like, oh, that sucks. In any case, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 is getting a remastered edition. It's coming from, of course, Activision and Vicarious Visions as the developer. What's cool is that this brings back a lot of the kind of fan favorite modes and everything, but it is really a remake, not a remaster. So I mean, typically you think of remasters that's just like some up-resing, maybe go to 40K, but it keeps all the core graphics in place. This was more like a Final Fantasy VII remake or something along those lines, where they went back and essentially used like the Neversoft code from the original game and then kind of redid that, updated the mechanics, but still tried to keep, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but like the original Tony Hawk, I was a giant fan of. I kind of fell off after like the next sequel and stuff. And then like when Ride came out and all that stuff, I was long gone. But like the original was amazing. I remember just enjoying
the one that got me. Two, I was
two.
deep into.
Playing on demo discs.
I was still on that Mario Kart life.
Same.
Late night. I mean, I was still into that
Mario
too.
Kart 64 though, not Super.
That's like junior year of high school when I started hanging with the bad kids, and it was late night.
It's all about that double dash, man.
This reminds me, I'm like 10 years younger than all you guys.
I thought I lost Connor when I said demo discs, and I was like,
I know we had those. Don't get it twisted.
Oh man, the demo disc, yeah, you play that thing until it broke.
Yeah, man, I don't need to buy the full game. I got the demo disc. Official PlayStation magazine. Anyway, but yeah, so this redoes both. It looks gorgeous. They've done a lot of work. It's in 40K. It runs at 60. So it's going to be coming out, I believe, September 4th of this year. So it's actually a pretty quick turnaround. It's coming to current gen consoles, so PS4, Xbox One, and PC, though I would not be surprised if the other consoles are coming towards the end this holiday. I would imagine you'll probably see like January or February a remastered set on those as well. That seems like easy money, especially with
you skipped the most important aspect of this whole thing.
What is the
They're
most
bringing back
aspect?
the soundtrack. All the songs are
you
back.
And Brandon. You and Brandon.
That's what's important here.
I mean,
all Twitter is excited about that.
That is kind of important.
It is important. I'm just saying, like, you guys were like super into the
As
soundtrack.
soon as I saw Power Man 5000 on that list, I was like, thank you, God. It's back.
What? You didn't want them to re-record everything? Give them new music?
You know, if they had put out a different soundtrack with like current music, there would be riots. People would be like, I don't want this.
Yeah. Does a remix. Lil Yachty.
Ed Sheeran. Yeah. No.
All the Lils will jump on the soundtrack.
Now.
Oh my God.
Kofi's singing on the podcast.
Right?
This is really awesome.
Oh, wait, you've never seen that before?
You always leave it to me when I'm on.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not coerced singing. You better sing. We all have our roles, Janelle. We all have our roles.
What's great is also, just as a quick way to wrap it up, is that there's a full trailer and everything. You can check it out on Comicbook.com. But it's only $39.99, which I actually thought that's actually a really good price point for redone two versions of that game. Full content, all the Creative Park and the Creative Skater, all that stuff's back. And they've been like, it looks really nice. So $39.99. There's like a deluxe and a collector's. I think you get a skateboarders. I don't know, something that's weird. Cool. That you're gonna put in your closet after a day because you forget about it. Like most collector's editions, but it's pretty cool. So yeah, definitely check that out.
Yeah, I'd try that for that price point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see some skater girls get up in here. I mean, this ain't the 90s anymore. Now HBO's got that new show Betty out. It's all about skate girls. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's good. Let's get this thing let's get this thing turned up. All right, so when we get back, we're going to deep dive. We're going to talk about a little bit about TV, a little bit about comics, and a lot about WWE. So stay tuned for all of that. All right, so first things first on TV. So I just want to talk real quick, as I said in the show notes, or didn't say, Too Hot to Handle, one of the greatest reality shows of all time.
No.
Welcome to your ambush. Oh, I didn't even see it coming. It was real comfortable in there for a second.
I even asked him what I need to watch. I actually, you know what? I'm grateful. You told me you didn't say I need to watch anything.
Didn't see. I know you were going to watch this, so I took it with you, and I thought I would just impart upon you.
Team.
Yeah. So Too Hot to Handle, I finished, and wow, yeah, man. I mean, Netflix is. I mean, maybe it was just isolation madness, but I've been watching a lot more reality TV shows that I have in years lately. But Netflix has been holding it down. There was Love Is Blind, The Circle, but I think Too Hot to Handle is probably one of my favorites because, like I said at the beginning, those pretty little dum-dums have like so much fun in there. Just like trying to make the love.
Oh my god!
And I think it's so funny because they are. I mean, I'm not joking. It is seriously. Half of them will say to the camera with pretty wide eyes that they are dum-dums. There's no delusions of grandeur, except for a couple people in the show who thankfully get booted eventually, which is a great moment when eventually the little Siri device is like, get the hell out because you suck. And everybody's like, yeah, you do suck. Get out of here. Yeah, it's hilarious just seeing these people struggle with not having like any sex or physical contact with each other after they're all like, I'm so hot and they're so hot and let's all do hot stuff together and hot kid games is it makes it pretty funny. And the funniest part about Too Hot to Handle that I was just talking to my wife, I turned to her one day and I was just like, this show really can't, either they can't make up their mind, the producers, or they can't get the people to like focus in on one or the other. Is this a trashy show about people not banging? Or is this a show about spiritual growth and depth in relationships? Because they really can't hold these two ideas in their head at the same time. And the show just like violently oscillates between these like almost cringeworthy conversations where these people are trying to be like spiritual and deep. They're like, so I didn't go down on you. I've done a lot of growing. And you're like, whoa.
Wow.
Like,
Physically.
it's great.
What?
So it's like, it's great. It's great in almost a cruel way because like, you're almost like laughing at all of this instead of like laughing with them because it is just.
I wasn't aware that it was supposed to be. Is it supposed to be a spiritual journey? I didn't know that was ever the goal.
They keep trying to go back to that, but they can't hold it because the people can't.
Obviously,
yeah.
You did not pick the right people.
Yeah,
to a spiritual journey show
incorrectly.
And all their activities.
One of them looks like Jesus. I know that much.
Oh yeah. Oh, that guy is like one of the best characters.
He was my favorite. I watched one episode,
and he thinks he's wise, but he's dumb AF.
Yeah,
and, like
he's from like Colorado, man.
No sense.
Yeah,
and, like there's an episode where he tries to talk to he finally finds a girl who's equally as deep from him, and she's like a California like hippie yoga instructor who's also an idiot.
That's a perfect match.
Yeah, and he tries to talk to her and say all this deep stuff to her that he thinks is deep, and her face in the editing is priceless because her face just keeps like screwing up. Like what? Like
okay,
she's just
I will
like,
watch
what
it
are
just
you
for him.
Saying? Like,
but it's like reality show deep, right? Which means it's one level above. Hey, so
no,
like,
it means the producers
I'm
like,
a
guys,
dude.
can you talk about like spiritual growth and like deepening relationships?
These shows
like,
always have the
Oh
lowest
gosh.
bar of like relating to someone. It's like, hey, I got freckles, you got freckles. That means we're meant to be. Like it's always very surface.
Always the people
but
with
and
tattoos
this
are
is
together.
This is the
Like-
most superficial thing in the beginning. Like that's exactly what it is. It's just like, and there are a lot of them are foreign. A lot of them are Australian and English because they knew the Americans would mess it up. And of course, the Americans are the worst part of it. So like all the best parts of it are the Australians, Canadians, UK people who don't give like a crap about like
I can't think of
getting together and just being like, who's the fittest bird here? All right, you're the fittest bird. Let's go. Let's let's fly. Like
I
you know,
love
all
that.
stuff.
Every
Okay,
time-
I might try to watch it again.
so-
You were right about Love Is Blind. That
Don't
sucked
tell
me
him
in.
that.
I thought it was
mean-
hilarious.
Too Hot to Handle is hilarious because at first it's so cringeworthy because all the people are, but then when they threw, like I said, when they threw in the twist, and this is what I had to investigate, yeah, it is good because as they have to try to navigate being anything other besides hot bods who can bang each other, like it's just hilarious. Everything about it is hilarious, and the money aspect is hilarious because certain people are just like, screw these other people, let's just go at it, and they do, and they screw everybody else over, and like it gets kind of crazy. So it's funny. But yeah, so that was my impromptu review of that. Yeah, Rick and Morty is back too, and yeah, Rick and Morty is back, and they got back to form this week. This was the episode, as Matt said last week, they probably should have aired as the return because it was real simple. It was just an aliens riff with some anime thrown in, and it was just simple and kind of funny, and had one of the most disturbing moments in the entire series where Rick and Morty, possessed by face huggers, decide to fall in love and make out with each other, and super gross. Yeah.
It wouldn't have been so gross if they still had their voices.
Yeah.
That was what ruined it.
Yeah, it was really gross. So that was good. All right, so that's it for TV catch up, and we're gonna go over to WWE, where apparently my three co-hosts are going to break down some WWE happenings. So I'm gonna sit back and sip this tea and watch this all unfold. So Connor, take it away.
You sip that tea, Kofi. 'Cause
Money in the Bank. What is going on in WWE?
Money in the bank.
Well,
Money in
sit
the
back and sip that
bank.
tea, Kofi, because turns out Janelle, unbeknownst to all of us, actually watched this show.
I did. I'm so proud. I watched the whole dang thing. The whole
Well,
thing.
You lucked out because this was actually the shortest pay-per-view since like the 90s, which I
Oh
loved.
my god,
Yes,
really?
It was amazing.
Yeah, that was much needed relief. But what'd you think of the show top to bottom, minus the stuff at the end in the office building?
Well, I'm officially like, I have my own account and everything, so we'll be watching a lot of things, and I'm very much looking forward to the Undertaker special. Like he's
Awesome.
always, he's throwback. I remember watching him and Cena in the office with you when that happened, and that was really exciting. But I loved it. I thought it was something athletic. I've been missing sports so much during this time, and to see these athletes, like, I mean, they were getting sweaty and brutal, and I think like my biggest takeaway was
So
cool
many questions
idea.
off
I don't
the
know.
bat,
It's just a
so
cool
many
idea.
questions.
Fighting all the way up from the bottom floor, like through the elevators, like getting really creative with kind of the layout of the office. And we got to kind of see this whole new perspective of I mean, I've never seen such like a close look at like the inside of their headquarters, which is in my hometown. So I'm like, this is awesome. I don't know. There was just a lot of really cool stuff I liked, and the matches were great. I loved Bray and Braun. That was my favorite moment of the
Nice.
entire, like, just dude, so well. It was so well executed. Like their chemistry is so good together. It's so convincing, like that relationship, and like the, I don't know, the mind control and the manipulation, and I loved it.
This discussion makes me so happy that Janelle is having this
Yay.
discussion with her.
Yeah, Matt, because we had really no expectations walking into this. Kofi blasted us for being horrible at selling this show. But
That's
Well,
right.
I mean, it was awful. Like, you guys are awful.
I know, right?
So it's Money in the Bank is back again, and it sucks, but here we are.
Well, there wasn't much to get excited about walking in outside of the main event itself. But, I'm with you. I really enjoyed the Bray Braun stuff. That was, you could tell because they didn't have the Fiend show up, the big scary clown demon, that this was obviously not going to be the last time we would see these two fight. So the fact that the whole time Bray is just being there like a scolding parent, being like, hey, it's time to come home. And then when he starts hitting, he's like, look what you made me do. I'm sad now. And then Braun puts on the mask. He's like, yay, this worked. I didn't have to try to kill you. And all the puppets are freaking out. I love that. And I know some people, and Matt's got this scowl on his face right
What?
now. All you audio listeners. He's like,
I did not. I had no scowl.
I told you,
You
man.
look-
these
It was some kind. It was so like
way turned up.
it was an a subconscious scowl.
Ed Bray is like a wrestler Post Malone. Like he reminds me of Posty.
For sake.
Seriously, I love him because I don't know, he just
Is it the dreads? Is that what does
it's
it?
the dreads. It's kind of like just his like facial expression, like his smirk. I don't know. Something about him reminds me of Post.
You
and I
have studied Post Malone very intently.
I have a Post Malone pop figure, so
So many face tattoos. But yeah, let's get to the big thing that everybody's talking about, obviously, and that's 30 minutes of people fighting inside WWE headquarters. We had cameos from guys like Brother Love and an awkward one from Stephanie McMahon. We had 2 attempted murders that were explained the next day by saying no, they fell onto secondary rooftops because that's a thing, except it's not. And we got Asuka and Matt, your boy Otis, doing Money in the Bank. How'd you feel about this whole thing and who wound up winning?
Well, okay, so one, I was actually very happy with the fact that like I actually got a lot of predictions right on a Vince McMahon moment. We got I love the Otis sticking a barbell over AJ and he couldn't move. It was like a Thor Hammers moment.
I actually talked to Otis yesterday about that spot because he came up with it and AJ was like, I don't want you to do this. He's like, oh yeah, AJ, we're doing this. He's like, no, I'm trapped.
It's so good.
Really
but it's so good though.
They decided to destroy the gym a little bit. Like they committed to spending money to fixing that after they like threw like huge
Corbin's
weights
Corbin's weight on the mirror.
That's great.
I love how he hovered over it too. He's like, I love the cameraman of if we're gonna shatter that glass, we're gonna hover over that for like a good 30 seconds. We got to pay for that.
And so I love when AJ's running through the hallway and he sees the picture of Rey Mysterio and the music starts playing. I'm like, is Rey gonna pop out of the picture?
Yeah, that was that. Well, okay, so that's actually what I loved about this most. And we had talked about it before previously of like, back to Kofi's point, coming into this, I was not very excited. And honestly, the first 3 matches dudded for me. Like after watching, I was I was bored. I was really bored for most of it. And then when the Money in the Bank match hit, I loved that whole section. I loved. But like one of the things we said was it's going to be great if they have fun with it and they get creative with the spots and it's not just people punching people through a different area because that's boring. And I loved like the stuff where they really went for it. Like the Dana Brooke picture thing, I loved. I adored that. Like where she shows up in the other, like the cafeteria with Paul Heyman and she still has the picture over top of her.
And Paul's got the sandwich. He's like,
yeah, like all that stuff. Like that stuff is great. The Asuka like kind of dancing up top of the thing before she jumps on people. Like the ridiculous stuff. I love that they committed to like Otis not being able to step on a step. Like, and it would crush. And then they tied that in. Like, there's so many little fun moments like that. The Vince McMahon segment. I love that it was AJ and Brian, the biggest 2 indie guys ever. Yeah,
in there with Vince, and he's like, out.
And then they have the little conversation like after, like, well, you didn't tell. Like all that stuff was fun, and I enjoyed it. The stuff that was a little more. There really wasn't actually much fat here because like even the stuff where they were in the hallways and like it was like Carmella coming out and then she would get hit by Nia and then Nia gets hit by somebody else. Like that stuff was fun. It kept you engaged. And then I just love that they didn't explain the rooftop throw at all.
Yeah.
They just said, no, they're gone. And you just kept moving
on. Murder.
Yeah, I love that. So that is the stuff I adored. And obviously the winner, I didn't think they would give it to Otis. I did call that Shayna wouldn't win it, but I didn't think it would go to Asuka either. I thought it would be like one of the other people, but I really didn't think they would give it to Otis, and I'm so happy to be wrong because that is great. I think I love that character. Evidently, Vince does too. Now we agree on something.
Yeah.
So, cool.
I don't think it ends with him as world champion. I think they either screw with it where he loses the briefcase to somebody else, or he tries cash in and fails, and he's talked about this in interviews. He might use it on the tag belts with Tucker. So, which
would be a very interesting way to not make him look weak, but still not put him in the title picture of like the heavyweight belt.
Right.
That would be a
but
very interesting way to do that.
I think there is something you can get out of him kind of pushing Braun to his limit, for a 15-minute match. Like, I remember when he did a match with Ciampa back in NXT, I was like, no, this is how you prove that this guy can go, is you put him with established people and have him push him.
And he can go. Like, that's the thing. It's
Absolutely
not
can.
for skill or whatever. It's just the fact that, like, I'm honestly surprised he's gotten this far because of the track record that WWE has with people like him who can be comedic and also can go in the ring. Sometimes they tend to favor one over the other and don't push them. Here, to my surprise, it's been the opposite. So I'm very excited. I mean, who knows? Maybe he does get a belt. No one thought he would win this. So I don't know. Maybe this is eventually like a Kofi Kingston type thing where like it builds enough and people just kind of get behind it and go with it. I don't know. I don't know if like Otis has that kind of build up yet, but we'll see.
Yeah.
But overall, love that.
So Otis, you talk about Otis, maybe getting built up, and we got to get to the other big subject that broke this week, and it's that Becky Lynch is gone from the company for a while because the man is going to be a mom. She is pregnant with her first child.
Congrats, Becky.
This was awesome news. Congrats to Becky. Congrats to Seth, even though he looked a little worse for wear last night. He is in fact the father. Although I got to say, Shayna's promo on
that was great.
Just blasting the two of them was fantastic.
That was awesome. That's what she needs to do more of. Absolutely.
R.I.P. Matt's predictions.
For what, the movie?
No, for Becky Lynch's arc in the WWE over the next year or so.
Well, just the next year. I mean, she could be back.
Yeah, she'll be
probably
back.
She'll be back. The thing is, she'll be back probably around Mania.
Guys, calm down. I have 2 kids. I know that motherhood is not the end of a woman's career. You don't have to go down this road.
Send your reactions to Kofi.
Yeah, that's not what I'm saying here. Everybody relax. What I was saying was Matt and you were arguing about what the WWE superstars would be over the course of like the next year. Was specifically the segment you guys were arguing about, and Becky Lynch has much more important things to do right now.
Exactly.
So that's all I'm saying.
Send
your letters to Matt Aguilar and Connor KCCB.
Oh, that's funny.
I'm on Becky's side. Don't at me on this crap. But this kind of leads to the bigger point, is that Becky's gone at least through the end of this year. Maybe all the way up until next year's WrestleMania. Mm-hmm. Roman is out until we don't know. We obviously don't have Goldberg or John Cena coming back anytime soon. We don't know when Brock's going to come back. And WWE's ratings are not ratings, but viewership is at the lowest it's ever been for shows like Raw and SmackDown being on Fox.
But now I'm there.
Now you are there, but the show overall is hurting. The product overall is hurting. And they're running out of stars. And their answer seems to be get rid of the brand split again, because whenever trouble happens, that seems to be the first thing that you kill. I think it's a huge mistake. Probably write about that later this week. But I ask you specifically, Max, and Janelle, you can obviously chime in on this too. What do they do? What do you do when you've lost all these stars and you desperately need something to keep people entertained?
Bring back Paige and give her own show. I'm just kidding. I love Paige.
She's on Backstage.
Yes, to Janelle's. Yes, 100%. Yeah, she wasn't. If she wasn't hurt, I'd be calling for that.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I mean, honestly, it's one of those things where this is something that some of WWE's planning over the last few years could have helped as far as building up new stars in a bigger way. Spending a little more time on your mid-card talent. Again, it's aside from the champions, because whoever your champion is, obviously you put a lot of things into the storyline. So like right now, Drew McIntyre and, Charlotte's over in NXT. Again, they kind of moved her over for that same reason, right? Added star power and things like that. And so now Becky with Asuka, some of that, it's really the mid card though that needs to be like this supposed Apollo Crews heel turn thing. It's whoever this truth, these little vignettes with the truth stuff, right? Like the hacker stuff. It's the Otis Mandy storyline. It's stuff like that is honestly going to keep them afloat until some of their big A-list stars can come back. It's not going to be just like, I mean, it's not going to be Asuka, right? Because yes, you can put the belt on Asuka. Everyone like loves her as a champ. I do. She's amazing. She's talented and she has the respect and what she can carry the belt. But at that point, you're not going to say that she's going to be the ratings grab.
No.
It's going to be the stuff like on SmackDown with Otis and all this stuff, this kind of weird organic reality meshing stuff. They can do the same thing with Apollo Crews if they decide to go that stable route and all that, right? So it's going to be stuff like that, though, and it's going to be a lot of it. It's going to be several of those. It can't just be that they don't have the like marquee name right now or that legend that's just kind of waiting in the wings to go, yeah, I'll do another run. You know, it's not like Shawn Michaels is going to do another like legendary run right now.
But the fact that Edge and Orton showed up last night, it was like, I need y'all to both be on this show consistently going forward.
And that might be
no more of this not showing up for 6 weeks.
But like, right, that might be what they do. Again, it's funny because like I would have said before, I might have leaned a little bit more on, well, you know, I mean, yeah, you would obviously make the part-timers a bit more full-time. But, you know, as we learned from the Undertaker special, like Janelle referred to earlier, sometimes they can't do that for not just, it's not because they don't want to, it's because of health and other things. And we know Edge looks amazing and is in great form, but we also know he's coming off of how many years and the surgery and all that stuff. So maybe he can't do that. If they can, though, absolutely. It's going to be stuff like that fills in the void, you know. But I don't think there's any one thing they can do to fix it. I think they have to have a bunch of little storylines hit and just over time keep building. And they have to also, if they're going to put a belt on somebody, back them. Like Braun needs to have this belt for a while.
I don't think that's going to happen.
I agree. But I think he needs, like, if you're going to put the belt on somebody, you need to back them, because otherwise you're going to end up with 6 months of people just trading that thing around. And all of a sudden the title's diminished again. And then
you're not wrong, but my only concern is that if you look at what Drew's doing right now over on Raw, that's where my head goes. That's a show I cover. I love what he's doing as far as week after week being a champion and how he presents himself. But you look at who he's probably going to face over the next few months. It's Bobby Lashley and Jinder Mahal. And that's not putting any butts in any seats, even if they could.
That's very true. Though I will say, as a tease for a future article that'll be up by the time you hear this, it would be a really cool thing if you had Kofi Kingston revisit that Drew McIntyre thing from a while back. Actually be a kind of a cool thing, and Kofi seems to like it too.
What does the Council of Kofi say about that?
It seems to be interested. All I'm saying, seems to be interested. So, I think it. But I agree. I think it's not moving charts right now, and WWE has a habit of getting a little frightened and a little nervous, and then moving it and giving it to, let's bring Brock back. It's that knee-jerk reaction. And I'm just saying, during this time especially, don't do that. I know that's the easy thing to do, but for whatever short pop you get, you'll be right back in this 3 weeks later. Like, you have to kind of commit and build it and slog through it a little bit, but the end of it, you'll probably come away when big stars come back and things return to semi-normal and crowds are back in arenas, you'll have more stars to work with than you did before. And if you go the other way, you're just going to end up back here in a month.
Yeah, I think you're about right. Well, Kofi, I think we've taken up enough of your time. How's that tea?
It's dry. Richard's yelling at us to wrap this up. So, Matt, you better get some comics in here so we can wrap this up.
So good news is there's only a couple of comics this week. The big stuff comes out next week. We're starting to see more companies raw. So for this week, DC's it. It's going to be Justice League Odyssey number 20, Justice League number 44, Metal Men number 6, Harley Quinn number 72, and Lois Lane number 10. If you are sleeping on Lois Lane, do not sleep on this book anymore. You literally have only 5 options, so maybe make that one and go with it and try it out. There's only 9 other issues. Read it. It's very good. Next week, we start to see like some Boom stuff hit and a couple other things with DC. And then the next week is when Marvel and IDW and Image all come. So that'll be the big return. But there is some really good stuff next week. So yeah, that's comics.
All right, that'll do it for this episode of Comic Book Nation. We want to thank you guys for tuning in. As always, if you're just getting into the show during quarantine arc, we put up new episodes every Wednesday and Friday on Comicbook.com, where you can subscribe to new episodes on our RSS feed. You can also find us on your favorite podcast platforms. We're on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Google Playlists. You can also tell any Amazon Alexa device to play Comic Book Nation podcast, and it will fire up for you. And you can find video of the show on the Comicbook.com YouTube page, or catch live broadcast of our recordings on Facebook as well. If you want to get involved with anything we were talking about on the show, drop us topics, say what's up, or just reach out. You can always find us at the hashtag Comic Book Nation, or you can find me at Kofi Outlaw.
You can find me at Matt Mueller. Oh, man, I screwed up my own handle. You can find me at Matt
Who's
Aguilar
Matt Mueller?
Yeah, who's that?
You can find me at Janelle Wheeler on everything, including Twitch.
You can find me at Matt Mueller. No, wait, at Connor Casey _CV.
Wow.
That was good. That was a good troll.
Oh, all right. That'll do it. If you guys are just getting into the show, please go on iTunes. If you like the show, leave us a 5-star review. Eventually, we will one day be back in our office. And as soon as we do, we're going to have to, we're just like building up to a whole episode of just review readings and giveaways. We're going to have to do like one after every 2 seconds. Oh, man, it's getting crazy. But everybody has been kind of pitching in, and we thank you. So continue dropping those 5-star reviews on iTunes. That'll do it. This is Comic Book Nation. We want to thank you guys again for tuning in. Make sure you stay tuned in, connected, all that good stuff. We'll be here for you every Wednesday and Friday, keeping you up to date with what's going on in the entertainment/geek world. So we'll see you again. Peace.
Deuces.
Later.